You wake up every day at the same time. The alarm goes off, you get up like an automaton, take a shower, get dressed and leave for work. 8 hours later, you come home tired, but with that strange feeling of duty fulfilled. After all, you're an honest worker, right? You build, you produce, you make a difference in the world. Your parents taught you that work dignifies man. Society told you that those who work hard always win in life, and you believed it. But what if I told you that you're being robbed every single day? What if I told you that every hour you work, every drop of sweat you shed, every brilliant idea you have, someone is getting rich at your expense? What if I told you that you're not a free worker, you're just a modern slave who chooses his own chains and still thanks for them? Karl Marx saw this over 150 years ago. He looked at work the same way a surgeon looks at a body, with precision, without romanticism, straight to the bone. And what he discovered should burn the soul of any honest person. You don't work for yourself. You never have. You work to enrich those who are already rich, to feed a system that devours you from the inside and still convinces you that this is normal. And the worst part, you still thank for it, you compete for it, you take pride in it. While you struggle to pay your bills, your boss buys his third beach house. While you save pennies, he spends thousands without blinking. While you kill yourself. Working, he counts profits that came from your effort. And you know what's most cruel? He convinced you that this is fair, that he deserves it because he worked harder, that you are where you are because you didn't dedicate yourself enough. Today, you're going to see work through Marx's eyes, and when that happens, you'll never look at your job the same way again. You'll never again accept the sweet lies they told you about meritocracy, about giving your best, and about growing in the company. Because Marx exposed all of this. He showed that behind your honest work lies the greatest exploitation scheme in human history. A scheme so perfect that the victims themselves defend their executioners. If you're ready to see the naked truth about work and about how you've been deceived your entire life, then stay until the end of this video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, because what you're about to discover will change not only how you see your job, but how you see all of society around you. And maybe, just maybe, it will give you the courage to do something about it. Marx is about to blow your mind. Do you have the courage to let him? They told you a beautiful story about work. They said if you study hard, get good grades, go to college and land a decent job, you'll be successful. They painted a picture where hard work equals prosperity, where dedication leads to recognition, where loyalty to your company brings security. They called it the American dream, the path to middle-class happiness, the ladder to success. You believed every word. You competed with classmates for the best grades. You worked unpaid internships to gain experience. You dressed up for interviews, smiled at hiring managers, and felt grateful when they chose you. You celebrated your first job like it was a victory. Finally, you were part of the system. Finally, you were contributing to society. Finally, you were somebody. But here's what they never told you. This entire story is a lie designed to keep you docile. Every motivational poster in your office, every Employee of the Month award, every company retreat talking about family values, it's all carefully crafted propaganda. They need you to believe that your interests align with your employers' interests. They need you to think that working harder will benefit you, when in reality, it only benefits them. Look around your workplace. Notice how they talk about human resources, not human beings, but resources, like oil, like raw materials, like something to be extracted and consumed. Notice how they measure your productivity, not your happiness, not your fulfillment. Not your growth as a person, but how much value you can generate for people you'll never meet. Notice how they talk about competitive salaries, while the CEO makes more in a day than you make in a year. The myth goes deeper than just your job. It's woven into everything you've been taught about society. You're told that wealth inequality exists because some people are smarter, work harder, or make better choices. You're told that poverty is a personal failing, that unemployment is laziness, that if you're struggling financially, it's because you're not trying hard enough. This myth is so powerful that even people living paycheck to paycheck defend billionaires and blame themselves for their situation. Social media reinforces this every day. You see lifestyle influencers selling you courses on passive income. You see entrepreneurs posting motivational quotes about grinding. You see advertisements promising that if you just buy the right products, take the right courses, develop the right mindset, you too can join the wealthy elite. The algorithm feeds you these messages because they keep you hoping, keep you consuming, keep you participating in your own exploitation. But Marx saw through all of this. He understood that this myth isn't accidental. It's necessary. The wealthy need you to believe that the system is fair, that it's merit-based, that you have a real chance of joining their ranks. Because if you ever realize the truth that the game is rigged, that the system is designed to keep you down while lifting them up, you might stop playing along. The question is, are you ready to see how deep this rabbit hole goes? You think you're free because you can choose which company to work for. You think you're free because you can quit any time you want. You think you're free because you earn your own money and spend it however you like. But Marx would look at you and see something else entirely, a prisoner who has fallen in love with his cell. Your prison has no bars, no walls, no guards with guns. It's far more sophisticated than that. Your prison is built from necessity, from debt, from the fear of losing what little you have. Every month you need money for rent, for food, for your car payment, for insurance, for your phone bill. These aren't luxuries, they're survival. And the only way to get money is to sell the one thing you truly own, your time, your energy, your life itself. This is what Marx called wage slavery. You're not owned by a master like slaves in the past, but you're owned by the system. You must work or you starve. You must accept whatever wages they offer or face homelessness. You must smile at your boss, follow company policies, suppress your opinions and pretend to be grateful, because the alternative is destitution. You call this freedom, but what kind of freedom is it when you have no real choice? Look at your daily routine. You wake up at the time your job demands. You dress according to their dress code. You spend 8 to 10 hours doing tasks that someone else assigns you using methods they approve to achieve goals that benefit them. You ask permission to take breaks, to use the bathroom, to leave early for a doctor's appointment. You bite your tongue when your boss is wrong because you need this job. You work late without extra pay because you're part of the team. You check emails on weekends because you're dedicated, and when you finally get home, exhausted and drained, you have just enough energy to eat, watch some Netflix, and prepare to do it all again tomorrow. You call this life, but you're living someone else's schedule, someone else's priorities, someone else's dreams. Your real dreams, the things you actually care about, the person you want to become, the impact you want to make. Those get pushed to someday, to when I have more time, to after I retire. The most brilliant part of this prison is that it makes you complicit in your own captivity. You defend the system that exploits you. When someone suggests that workers deserve better wages, you worry about inflation. When someone mentions unions, you fear they'll make your company less competitive. When someone talks about reducing working hours, you worry about falling behind. You've internalized your captor's voice so completely that you police yourself. Even your leisure time isn't truly yours. You're so exhausted from work that you consume passive entertainment instead of creating, learning, or connecting meaningfully with others. You buy products to fill the emptiness that comes from spending most of your waking hours doing unfulfilling work. You scroll through social media, comparing your behind-the-scenes reality with everyone else's highlight reel, feeling inadequate and working even harder to afford the lifestyle you see online. Marx called this alienation. You're alienated from your work because you have no control over what you produce or how it's used. You're alienated from other workers because you're taught to compete rather than cooperate. You're alienated from your own humanity because you're reduced to a function, a role, a productivity metric. But here's what Marx understood that will change everything. This prison only works if you don't see the bars. Karl Marx didn't just criticize capitalism. He dissected it like a pathologist examining a diseased organ. In his masterwork, Das Kapital, he revealed the hidden mechanics of how wealth is really created and who actually creates it. What he discovered will make you question everything you think you know about fairness, value, and who deserves what. In this world, here's the truth that will burn. Every dollar of profit your company makes comes from paying you less than the value you create. Marx called this surplus value, and it's the engine that drives the entire capitalist system. When you work for 8 hours, you might create $100 worth of value for the company, but they only pay you $60. That $40 difference? That's not going to business expenses or reinvestment. That's going straight into the pockets of people who did nothing to earn it except own the means of production. Think about Amazon. Jeff Bezos became the richest man in history, not because he worked millions of times harder than his warehouse workers, but because he captured the surplus value created by hundreds of thousands of employees. Every package they sorted, every mile they drove, every algorithm they optimized. Bezos took a cut of the value they generated. The workers created the wealth. Bezos just owned the system that allowed him to claim it. Marx saw this pattern everywhere, and it infuriated him. In the Communist Manifesto, he wrote with his collaborator Friedrich Engels about how the bourgeoisie, the capital-owning class, has created a world where human relationships are reduced to cold cash transactions. Your boss doesn't care about you as a person. You're just a cost center to be minimized and a profit source to be maximized. Your co-workers aren't your community. They're your competition for limited promotions and job security. But Marx's most devastating insight wasn't about money. It was about time. Your life is measured in hours, and under capitalism, those hours belong to someone else. You sell your Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, the prime hours of your prime years, to people who will never know your name. While you're creating value for them, your own dreams atrophy. While you're building their empire, your potential remains unrealized. While you're making them wealthy, you remain dependent on their permission to survive. This is what Marx meant when he said that capitalism turns everything into a commodity, including human beings. You're not valued for your creativity, your relationships, your wisdom, or your unique perspective on life. You're valued for how efficiently you can perform repetitive tasks, how many hours you can work without complaining, how willing you are to prioritize company profits over your own well-being. The cruelest part is how the system makes you grateful for your exploitation. They give you benefits that should be basic human rights, healthcare, vacation time, sick days, and you feel lucky to have them. They pay you just enough to survive and maybe afford a few small pleasures, and you feel successful. They promote one person out of 100 and tell the other 99 that they could be next if they just work harder, and you believe them. Marx understood that this system doesn't just steal your money, it steals your humanity. It reduces you to a function in someone else's machine. But he also understood something else, something that the wealthy desperately don't want you to realize. You have power, immense power, because without your labor, without your cooperation, without your participation, their entire system collapses. The question is, what are you going to do with that knowledge? Right now, something is happening inside you. You feel it, don't you? That uncomfortable stirring, that cognitive dissonance between what you've always believed and what you're starting to see. Part of you wants to reject everything I've just told you. Part of you wants to close this video, go back to your comfortable illusions, and pretend that Marx was just an angry old man who didn't understand how the world really works. That resistance you're feeling, that's not really you. That's the voice of the system speaking through you. It's the voice that's been programmed into you since childhood. The voice that says, be grateful for what you have. Don't rock the boat. Work hard and everything will be fine. This voice has kept you compliant for years, maybe decades. It's protected you from the uncomfortable truth that your entire worldview has been carefully constructed to benefit people who see you as nothing more than a replaceable part in their money-making machine. But there's another voice inside you now, isn't there? A quieter voice that's been growing stronger with each word. This voice is saying, I knew something was wrong. I felt trapped but couldn't explain why. I've been living someone else's life. This voice is you, the real you that exists beneath. All the conditioning, beneath all the fear, beneath all the lies you've been told about what you're supposed to want and who you're supposed to be. Marx called this moment class consciousness. The awakening that happens when you realize your true position in the economic hierarchy. You're not middle class. You're not upwardly mobile. You're not temporarily embarrassed millionaires, as the saying goes. You're working class. You're part of the vast majority of humanity that survives by selling their labor to a tiny minority that owns everything else. And once you see this clearly, you can never unsee it. Look at your life through this new lens. Every voluntary overtime hour you worked was actually coerced by the threat of falling behind on bills. Every time you smiled at a condescending boss, you were performing submission to keep your income. Every career choice you made was constrained by the need to generate money for survival rather than pursue what actually fulfills you. You thought you were making free choices, but you were only choosing between different forms of the same cage. This realization is terrifying because it means admitting that you've been wrong about fundamental things. It means acknowledging that years or decades of your life have been spent enriching people who don't care about you. It means recognizing that the American dream you chased was always a mirage, designed to keep you running on a treadmill that goes nowhere. It means accepting that the meritocracy you believe in is largely a myth used to justify inequality. But this realization is also liberating, because once you understand how the game really works, you can stop playing by their rules. Once you see that the system isn't broken, it's working exactly as intended, you can stop blaming yourself for its failures. Once you recognize that your struggles aren't personal failings, but structural problems, you can start looking for structural solutions. The old you would have watched this video and thought, interesting perspective, before going back to the same routine tomorrow. But you're not the old you anymore, are you? You've seen behind the curtain. You know the truth now. And that knowledge comes with responsibility. You have a choice to make. You can try to forget everything you've learned here, go back to sleep, and continue living the life someone else designed for you. Or you can stay awake, stay angry, and start imagining what your life could look like if you stopped accepting their version of reality as the only possibility. What's it going to be? Marx didn't just diagnose the problem, he showed us the cure. He understood that individual awakening is only the beginning. Real change happens when isolated workers realize they're not alone, when they stop competing with each other and start cooperating against the system that exploits them all. This is why the wealthy fear nothing more than workers who talk to each other, who organize, who refuse to accept that this is just how things are. You are not powerless. You never were. Every corporation, every billionaire, every system of Exploitation depends entirely on your consent, your participation, your labor. They need you far more than you need them. They've just spent enormous resources convincing you otherwise. They've built an entire propaganda machine, advertising, media, education, politics, to keep you believing that you're lucky to have what little you have, that you should be grateful for scraps from their table. But what if you stopped being grateful? What if you started demanding what you're actually worth? What if you realized that the value you create with your hands, your mind, your time belongs to you? What if you understood that a system requiring you to work yourself to exhaustion just to survive isn't a system worth preserving? The revolution Marx envisioned isn't coming from the top down. It's not going to be handed to you by politicians or billionaire philanthropists. It starts with moments like this one, with individual human beings waking up to their own power, refusing to accept exploitation as normal, and connecting with others who've had the same awakening. You're already part of this revolution, whether you know it or not. Every time someone quits a toxic job, every time workers organize for better conditions, every time people choose cooperation over competition, every time someone prioritizes human dignity over profit margins, that's Marx's vision becoming reality, not through grand gestures, but through millions of small acts of resistance to a system that treats human beings as disposable. The future Marx imagined, where people work because they want to contribute, not because they'll starve if they don't, where creativity and community matter more than quarterly earnings reports, where your worth isn't measured by your productivity. That future is possible, but only if enough people stop accepting the present as inevitable. You can't unsee what you've seen today. You can't unknow what you now know. The question is what you're going to do with this knowledge. Are you going to let it simmer in silence? Or are you going to let it burn through you and change how you move through the world? If this video lit something inside you, don't let it burn alone. Share it. Send it to someone who needs to hear this. Let it reach someone who's still asleep, still accepting, still grateful for their chains. Because every person who wakes up makes the next awakening easier. Every voice that speaks the truth makes the silence a little less comfortable for those who profit from it. Marx believed that once enough people see the system clearly, change becomes inevitable. He believed in you before you believed in yourself. He knew that ordinary people, when they finally understand their power, can transform everything. The only question left is, are you ready to transform everything? Subscribe, share this message, and let's find out together. The revolution begins with you. It always has.